Good morning, guys. Welcome. You have arrived at the Netready Facebook Live event. Thanks for joining us for this episode and dedicating your time to us. I really appreciate it. So sorry for the delay in getting us live. We always get on at 10 o'clock, and to be late, it's against everything that we believe in. However, sometimes these things happen. We had to reset the whole studio today because we've had a big event. Hey, Richard,
and the sound wasn't working, so we got these our old microphones.
Yeah.
Instead of using our beautiful overhead mics.
You can't see the microphones and you can't see what else is happening in the studio, but there's a whole operation here. I mean, it just, right now all you can see on the screen is our beautiful faces.
Well, one of us is beautiful face, and then there's me.
But guys, we've just come back from a big event from our friends Tian at Nanonutrients.
What an epic event, hey?
Yet again.
Yeah.
I mean,
guy really blows me away.
Yeah. He's so, and this is not a negative thing. He's unassuming. He's just a guy that you connect with so nicely. But when you get him on stage, and he's presenting the business opportunity, or he's training his people, which is what he did yesterday, it's just epic. And I mean, I'm pulled in.
But the thing is, he believes heart and soul in his product, heart and soul. So when he talks, it comes with such authority, and he knows his product backwards. He believes in it completely. It's amazing to watch him in action, I must say.
It really
He's a soft, gentle guy, and just such a powerful presentation.
Yeah, no, he's a special guy.
Yeah.
So we got our backdrop back.
Yay.
Right, come on. But so what I'd like to do, Richard, is jump into our episode and the topic that we're going to be talking about today. Training and Tian is a topic that we've discussed before, and obviously a huge part about network marketing, multi-level marketing, and it plays a lot into what we're talking about today, which is support within MLM.
Yeah.
Now, support. Every week we speak about a new topic, and we go, can we speak for an hour on this topic? And it just seems to be, there's so much content.
Yeah.
This is a complex industry, and to know all the intricacies through each engine, you know, it is complex.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. When is support needed within multi-level marketing? Let's start there.
Well, look, I think from day one, right out the blocks, you have to have a support person, at least one person who is dedicated to answering questions. Because the way the process works is somebody comes online, places an order. That order then needs to get processed, so it goes to the warehouse, it's picked, packed, and then it's shipped to the person, and it needs to arrive at their destination. Now,
Sure.
Your first problem in this whole kind of thing is, where's my product? So if you have a look at the 90% of the support queries that come in on our clients, 90% of them, the vast majority, and 90%, I don't know whether that's the number or not, but the vast majority of them are related to the product not arriving. So you need somebody there from day one who's trained up to understand how the process works and who can then take you through the entire process if there's a problem. So they can phone you up, they can say, okay, this is the product hasn't arrived here, but this is where it is in the chain. And it's on its way to you, or I'll follow up for you and get back to you. And that stuff needs to happen on day one. And the problem is, what normally happens is companies get started, and what they do is they field phone calls. Now, understand, if you're the owner of this company, so a lot of our clients are one-man bands. They've started this business. They basically, them and their wives are doing everything together. If that's the space you're in, then what happens if something doesn't arrive? The guy picks up the phone and calls you. And unfortunately, what happens when he calls you is there's a 10-minute conversation, and he talks about his dog and his kid and the car, and this is all very good. And then he says, oh, by the way, my product hasn't arrived. Now the guy has got to get into the system, track down what's happened to the product, find out why the product hasn't arrived, get back to the person and say, hey, listen, I noticed you haven't paid for it yet, so that's why it hasn't arrived, or whatever the reason it hasn't arrived is. And so that is extremely time consuming. And when you're trying to set up an MLM business, you actually don't have time for that.
You don't.
So I say to my guys, look, get somebody. Doesn't have to be somebody spectacular to start with. Just needs to be somebody who understands the basic principles, who can operate a computer, and who can work out what's gone wrong with that order, etc. And then provide that kind of feedback to the client.
Right.
Yeah, and out of the blocks, you want to discourage phone calls. If the person phones you, I can't talk now, just bang it in an email or put a ticket into the system and I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Obviously, we can't take phone calls. I mean, when our clients get up to 30,000 people, or when these MLM businesses, which is the average within South Africa, we'll talk about South Africa. In South Africa, the average network size is 30,000 people. Now, can you imagine if each one of your people, your network, is picking up the phone and calling phone supports all the time? And let's just say it's a 1-minute phone call. We know no one speaks for 1 minute, but let's just call it a 1-minute phone call. That's 30,000 minutes. We did the calculation. I'm going to try to remember in my head now. That's 500 hours.
Exactly.
500 hours.
That's just 1-minute call.
Well, just 1-minute calls.
Yeah.
Okay. That is 5 people full-time for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Just trying to answer those 1-minute calls. And what call is ever 1 minute?
Never is.
Never is. And the problem is you train your people from day one. So your network is trained from day one of how they get the most effective support from you. And if you are answering the phone every time they call and then helping them, then the most effective route is calling you.
Of course,
and so they'll teach their people to call you, who'll teach their people to call you, and before you know it, you're swamped. And then you've got to try and roll that back, and now everybody's irritated. You always used to take my phone call, now you don't. You don't love me anymore.
Right, yeah.
Let me go and join that company who never took my phone calls in the first place, but there was no expectation of that. So I say to our clients, listen, from day one, have somebody, even if you get somebody who's just out of school, have somebody to answer the tickets, get back to the clients, tell them where their product is. As I said, most of the tickets are fulfillment related. And the second thing is obviously you want to limit the amount of tickets you get.
And so how do we do that? How do we limit those tickets that come in? Because always got questions. My product didn't arrive, or something wrong with my comp plan, or my commissions haven't been paid out, or there's so many ways in which someone feels they need to connect with the company.
Yeah, so one of the things when we design the compensation plans for our clients, what we say to them is, look, you need leadership. If you're running 30,000 people, you can't do it yourself. If you are the top of that network, everybody's going to come to you. Everything flows to the top. So you have to build in strategies where you identify leadership within your organization. So normally you've got mechanisms that if a person does X, they get promoted. If they do Y, they get promoted again, and so on and so forth. And that creates a leadership sort of tier within your business. And now what you need to do is you need to make sure that those leaders are really well trained so that most of the queries go upline. So if there's a problem and you don't understand your compensation plan, your two solutions are get hold of the company or get hold of your upline. Now, if your upline's properly trained, then the company can say, hi, this is not a question we can answer. Please get hold of, and then pass the name of the upline to that person and say, please get hold of Joe Bloggs or Mary Smith, and they will help you with that. That becomes training in two parts. One, training your people to deal with their network. Two, training the network to deal with their upline, rather. And so that eliminates quite a big chunk of the queries that come in. The second big area that we see queries coming in the network is, my commission's wrong. Okay, now, if you've got a decent system, commission's never wrong. Okay, but now the person says the commission's wrong, and if you don't deal with it, they sit there very unhappy because they're convinced it's wrong. You know it's right, but you can't say, listen, the system's right. So you then have to do an audit on that comp plan. And that is a massive job. Normally an audit will take you half a day because you've got to go through, you've got to work out where all the network is, you've got to make sure that every single order was catered for, that the commissions flowed in the right direction, etc. And when you do that, that puts you under a massive amount of strain in terms of time allocation.
Well, half a day.
Half a day. So what we did, I mean, something that you could implement there is what we said is that it costs, in South Africa, 500 rands to audit your comp plan. Now, if we find that there's a mistake in the comp plan, we refund you, no problems. But if there's no mistake and you just got it wrong, then the 500 rands on the water, we keep it because it took us half a day to. Now, it's amazing. Before we implemented that, the compensation plan was always wrong. And even though we proved it was right time again, we had a handful of people who were on us every single month. When comp plan ran, they were on us to audit their compensation plan.
Yeah.
We'd audit it. No, it's right. Oh, I see. It's that thing that I didn't see that.
Yeah.
When we implemented 500 Rand cost to audit it, at that point, the compensation plan was always right. We no longer, and I have to say, though, that you have to have mechanisms in place that allow the person to go and audit their own comp plan.
Yeah.
They need to be able to check their comp plan and say, okay, yes, I did order that much product. We did have that many customers. My retail commission is right, or I am being paid at the right level here. And then once you've charged them a couple of times to audit the comp plan, and it has been right those times, then they actually tend to believe you.
Yeah.
You know, they drop a grand on auditing comp plans.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it ever again in their life, you know. And that's exciting.
Yeah, sure.
You know? So there are strategies to reduce your support role. The big one.
Yes. You're going to get
the product to the client fast. So make sure what's in the box is right. Make sure that it's picked, packed, and shipped the day that the order comes in. Make sure that you get it to the client as quickly as humanly possible, and then have a communication strategy. Your product has been packed, it's waiting to be collected. Your product has been collected, it's on its way to you. This is the tracking number. Hey, your product is at the pickup point, or it will be delivered today, or whatever. If you have effective communication going out of the system, and we normally do it via SMS because that's quite an easy mechanism, but you could do it via email as well. Then what happens is you don't get any queries because the person knows where in the process this thing is.
Oh, when they're informed, they ask less questions. It's simple. So have a communication strategy.
And it's normal for everybody to forget when you ordered it. The other day, I phoned up B&H. I ordered some camera equipment from them. So I phoned up B&H. I said, listen, my stuff hasn't arrived, and I see it hasn't even left your office yet. Why is it taking so long? The guy goes into the order. He says, but sir, you only placed this thing a day ago.
Oh, no.
And of course, in my mind,
yes,
we are so busy here that it felt like I'd placed it 5 days ago. But I'd only actually placed it the previous morning. And he said to me, and in actual fact, it's now being packed right now, and it'll be leaving our offices today. And I felt like an honor. But the thing is, it's natural. It's like the human condition to forget when you actually did something, and to build up in your mind that it's taking longer than it is.
Right.
They did send me an email. But if I'd read my email, I would have seen exactly where in the process this order was. So now I look at my emails before I phone them. But bottom line is, you could send an SMS out. In our system, we've got notifications at each stage. So when the product is paid, we've got a notification that goes out by SMS saying, thank you for payment.
We've received it.
Yes. Your order is now at our depot being packed. As soon as the order has been picked and packed and is in the box, an SMS goes out saying, your order's been packed, it's sitting with dispatch, waiting for the courier company to collect it. As soon as the courier company collects it, it's marked as collected. A notification goes out to say, thank you very much. Your order's on its way, here's the tracking number. So they can then click on and log on and look at that tracking number and see where the product is in between us and them. Now, if the vast majority of your support queries are fulfillment, I don't have my product yet, then it makes absolute sense, and it's extremely cheap to pay for 4 or 5 SMSs to prevent the tickets coming in and having to have an army of people. Now, if you get that part wrong, fulfillment wrong, one of our clients, I mean, they're doing a lot of orders every month, and I'm not going to mention their names, but when you go to their warehouse, it's chaos. They have, I mean, it's just chaos. And so there's a lot of things falling between the cracks, but they've got over 30 support people. 30 support people just dealing with where's my product. And I look in their list. They've also, their comp plan, they decided that they weren't going to have leadership. So the company's having to answer all questions. There's no leadership, there's no upline. Everybody just brings people in, lets them go, do your own thing, and moves on to bringing more people in. So it's not great compensation plan, so there's no leadership there. the picking, packing, because of the volumes they're doing, they're actually struggling to keep up with all the volumes.
Yeah.
And then they've got this army of support people. It's expensive exercise.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that part of support is training your leadership well, having leadership in the first place, training them extremely well to deal with the big volume of the support queries that come in. How does my compensation plan work?
Yeah.
How do I audit my compensation plan? How do I recruit somebody? Is this person in my team? This person joined up, I'm not seeing him on my team. Get hold of your upline. They'll help you find it. If you still can't find it, then get hold of the company, log a ticket, and we can see if we can find that person. All of those things you can train your leadership to deal with. Then in terms of fulfillment, if you build in really strong notification into fulfillment, you eliminate a whole pile of problems in that space.
But in addition to that, actually having a proper warehouse management system to track all the orders, what's on the shelf, what's been purchased online, what to pick, pack, and what to ship. I mean, that's a whole process in itself.
Yes.
And that's where it begins.
Yeah.
So if you can't even do that, the fulfillment process doesn't happen.
Yeah, so you've got a couple of things. You've got to have stock on hand. You mustn't sell anything you don't have. So selling back orders is an absolute disaster in our space.
Yeah.
So don't sell what you don't have. Make sure you've always got stock on hand, and then make sure that the process is in place. Get the product out to the client fast.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Get the product out, but then notify them all the way along the line. Even if it takes an extra day for you to pack it, you have a notification that goes out that tells the clients, okay, it's in the process of being packed. When it's packed, it's been packed, it's waiting for dispatch. That now tells the client, they get an SMS, oh, cool, it's been packed. Oh, cool.
Something's happening.
Yeah.
It's moving.
Exactly.
It's getting closer to me.
You know, and if it's just this vacuum, you put your order in, you put your money in, you hear nothing until one day the package arrives on your doorstep.
Yeah.
And let's say that's a 3 or 4 day process.
Yeah, you're frustrated.
Now the person is wondering for 4 days what's going on here.
Yeah.
And then, because nobody's notified them, they're not at home that day, so it doesn't get delivered because they try and deliver it and they're not there, and it comes the next day. I mean, and maybe it's on a Friday, so it only comes on the Monday, and I mean, it just creates chaos. And it creates a lot of credibility. You know, it's reputational damage if you're not actually getting the product to the client quickly.
Yeah.
And again, that brings the load back into the support arena. And so, you know, from my opinion, train your leadership, direct your network to the leadership, make sure your warehouse is slick, make sure the products are going out, have strong notifications in place, charge for
your comp plan audits.
And then suddenly 90% of your, well, I don't know what the percentage is, but the vast majority of your queries are gone.
Yeah.
Now, when I was running Acorn Kids, we had 2 people, we had 10,000 agents, 2 people on support. Now,
But this is what I wanted to get into. So this is the next thing. And just before we continue, if you have any questions or comments, please put them into the Facebook Live comment section. And then after this, Richard will just address those questions. But what we wanted to do here is understand when we start, how many support staff do we need? And when we scale, does that scale infinitely with the network? Or having those those policies in place for those 3 elements that you just mentioned, we wouldn't need to scale as much as the network does. So let's talk about when we start, and then you can bring in the Acorn Kids example, because it's a real life example that's going to give credibility to this.
well, when I started Acorn Kids, we weren't in a position where we had a lot of money. Okay, so for me, getting a big team of support people together would have been problematic. I mean, we just spent like every last dollar we had on building the Netready system. So we were in up to our gills in terms of development costs, and to now go and bring in a bunch of support people it wasn't going to happen. So I had to come up with strategies there. And so my thing was get one person. And so I got this young girl, just like the loveliest girl, but
It's a shame.
so she was just out of school and first job.
Yeah.
And very innocent and kind of, so the one day she sends me, I'm her boss now, okay?
Yeah. Is she still there?
She's not with Acorn, no.
No, as when this email came through.
Yeah, so this email comes through
Okay.
from her
Yes.
to everybody in the office. She still just sticks everybody's name in the email, sends everybody in the office an email. And the email says,
No.
working in this office is like living in a tree full of monkeys. The people at the top look down, they see smiling faces.
Yeah.
The people at the bottom look up, they see a bunch of asses.
And she sent it to the whole staff?
She sent it to the whole staff. Oh. Well, I just saw the funny side of that, so I had to agree with her.
Yeah.
We were seeing smiling faces, and they probably were seeing asses, what can I say? But anyway, she was our support person, and I just, right from day one, I was aggressive about training my leadership to deal with their problems. And so part of her mandate was to look at what the query was, and if the query was not something that, or something that we decided we were not dealing with.
Yeah.
How does the compensation plan work? I didn't get paid commission. This person's not in my network, blah, blah, blah. That would be directed at the upline. And if things went pear-shaped after that, like the person was actually not in their network and they needed to get a deeper dig, they would come back to her and she would actually try and find out where it was. So right from day one, we set the precedent. Absolutely 0 people coming into the office.
Wow.
So we actually kept the number of people coming into the office to a very low level. We also didn't take any pickup orders. So you could collect your orders from our office, but there was a premium charged if you collected.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to collect from the office, then it cost you an extra 50 Rand.
Okay.
So we'd actually put a premium on collecting from the office. Now, the reason we did all this is to reduce the support. Now, as we scaled our business, that ethos, that ethic, just carried on through the business. So when we got to 10,000 agents, we could run that whole business with 2 people on support.
Sure.
And those 2 people not on support, they were doing everything in the office because there was just, the load was very low. Like, for example, system queries. How do I place an order? How do I check on this? How do I return a product? All of that kind of stuff was handed off to the leadership. So the leadership was responsible for teaching their people how to use the system and for working with them on the system. And if they had a problem, they'd speak to the leadership and they would handle all of that. And so that just radically reduced a number of support queries. And of course, in terms of getting the product out the door, that was just like, we focused heavily on that. If an order came in before, I think it was 3 o'clock, was the cutoff, that order would be packed and shipped that day.
Wow.
Anything after 3 o'clock, we'd pack, and then first thing the following morning, we'd continue packing because every day we shipped at 3.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So the guys would come between 3 and 4. Everything that came in before 3, we'd pack and have it ready to go. And so when the courier company came, they picked up all of our stuff, off they went with it.
How long would that take then to get to the customer?
Well, we had, at the time, we had a deal where it was a 2-day delivery. So if they picked it up that evening, wouldn't get there the next day, it would get there the day after.
Okay. Wow, that's a great turnaround time.
Yeah, and there was communication all the way down. Hey, it's been picked, it's on its way, here's the waybill number, the tracking number, you can click on this link to go and track it. All of that stuff was in place.
Yeah.
And that just took all the pressure off us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so,
that's brilliant, Richard. Wow.
Again, coming back to support, you know, you do all of those things, it lowers radically the number of people you need on support.
Yeah.
You know, incentive, where am I in the incentive? I mean, that's a typical support query. We're running an incentive, where am I?
Yeah.
But if you've got reports that tell everybody exactly where they are on the incentive, if you've automated those processes, that's another thing that you don't have to worry about. The support people don't need to deal with it.
In terms of the issues that come into play with having a support team, the volume of support team members is limited by putting all these policies and procedures in place. But having the support team, there's a cost. You're going to have at least one person, as you just mentioned. Now, there are costs that are associated. We need desk space. We need a device. We need there are a lot of
training.
So that
real
comes
estate,
and that comes into
telephone line.
Yeah, that's all hard costs. Oh. Even training is your time.
So in South Africa, on average, a support desk costs about 25,000 Rand a month for a proper support desk. That's a competent person, their computer, the real estate they're sitting on their desk, their internet connection, their telephone line, their training, etc.
So to have 30 support people.
It becomes expensive.
That's absurd.
Yeah, and generally you do want more than one, because that person could be sick.
Right.
You know, they need to take leave. If you've only got one person, well, you're pretty hog-tied. If they go on leave, what do you do? If they're sick, what do you do?
Yeah.
And you can't just not have any support for the day because this person's sick.
Or you can't just step in yourself as a company owner, because there's
If you don't have
a
somebody
million
else, you
other
have
things.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a million other things you have to do to run this business. Very tough.
And that's, of course, when things start slipping through the cracks. And your reputation is everything in this space. Because remember, the person who's joining, the network marketer, he's a volunteer. You have no leverage over them.
Yeah.
You're not paying them a salary.
No.
And if you're not, and for the most part, they're doing it for the passion of the project. They've got this dream of being able to go overseas, or to be able to earn a second income, or even just earn enough money to pay for their child to go through school, or to pay for their new Apple Watch or whatever. They've got a reason for doing this.
Right, yeah.
But you don't have any leverage on them. So if they start to get disillusioned or unhappy, if your reputation in their eyes drops, they're gone.
Yeah.
They don't even hesitate. They don't even tell you about it. They just stop doing your business.
Yeah.
Before you know it, they've cancelled their membership and they're a member of Amway or Herbalife or GNLD or one of the other organizations out there that are doing a better job than you.
Yeah.
You know? So again, your support person needs to be there, and you need to have a backup so that if something comes in, they get instant support. If they log a ticket and they don't get a response for 2 days, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
That actually brings up the concept of systemizing, systems.
Just before we get into that, one of the things you mentioned, and this is kind of a side note or a pro tip, is I heard one of our clients speaking about when they sell this opportunity, this lifestyle to this potential network member, they host these business opportunity meetings. Yes, they're promising this beautiful lifestyle of being able to have all the time in the world, all the money in the world, and then have your own lifestyle. But they also went, but even if you just want to put some food on the table tonight, pay for your kids' school fees, put some fuel into your car's tank for this month. You don't have to be earning millions of dollars every month. The aspiration is there. But if you want to have your own micro business, get into this industry and put some fuel into your tank. I love that about it.
Yeah.
We push aspiration, but the reality is, let's just get you some petrol in your tank.
Yeah, exactly
I love
right.
that.
You know, and some people, for them, an extra $50 a month makes a difference.
Makes a big difference. Yeah.
And in South Africa, where the average earnings, what is the 1,800 divided by 15? What is that?
Yeah, it's $100.
$100.
Let's call it.
So the average person in South Africa is earning around about $100 a month, $120 a month.
Yeah.
For the vast majority of our people, that's what they're earning.
Yeah.
So in their space, here in this country, an extra $50 is like a 50% increase in their salary.
Right.
An extra $100 is like they've doubled their income for the month. So in this country here, that is more real than in most countries in the world. You know. But then, of course, if you look at the average purchases in South Africa, it's 500 rands per month per member, whereas in somewhere like Germany, the average sales is 2,500 rands.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference between South Africa and Europe or the first world countries.
Right. Okay. So that was a nice pro tip.
Just like
that's a little golden nugget.
Slip to the side there.
Exactly. Let's talk about the system automations within support. I know we're getting to that.
Yeah. So look, you need to systemize support. You can't do it via email, because what you want to do is you want to have a ticket and you want to track what's going on. So today is a prime example. You got a phone call from one of our clients, and they were furious. They'd logged this ticket and we hadn't responded to it, and what was going on and what kind of operation are we running, etc. And what's really powerful is that we then went into the ticket, and there we see the ticket, and there we see Rachel responding to the ticket saying, okay, this is what needs to do. Then the following day she responds to the ticket again saying, hey, listen, I haven't heard from you, but you need to do X, Y, and Z. And then the next day she responded to the guy again saying, look, I'm still waiting for a call from you, but have you done these 3 things? Now the guy phones you, and what's really cool is you could get onto a Zoom call with him, and you could pull up the ticket and say, hey, listen, we responded to you there, and there. So we've responded to you 3 times over the last 3 days, and you haven't actually looked at your ticket. And what was really powerful about that is that the guy was, oh, really, man, I'm so sorry. I see that my emails were landing up in my spam box, and I actually didn't bother to log onto the system to see where the tickets were.
Exactly.
Now, the reason I'm saying this is because what you want is you want to make sure that your guys are doing the job, but you want to be able to measure that they are doing it. So that if somebody tells you, hey, listen, you didn't respond to me, you need to be able to go in and track exactly what the responses are. And obviously in our office, we try and respond within an hour. We try and get an answer out to that ticket. We're on those tickets like religiously. We want to make sure. And if the person doesn't respond to us, we send them another ticket to say, hey, listen, just following up with you, did you see this ticket? So you need to have that kind of process, and you can't do that without proper systems.
But the issue with having an alternate form of communication, like phone support, is that you're undermining your support team. Because if your client or network member is constantly communicating through tickets to your support team, but then goes, I can just pick up the phone and talk to maybe someone more senior or someone else in the company to get a quicker answer, and that person then solves that problem, well, you've completely undermined your support team.
And you've made a rod for your back.
Exactly.
Because where they're going to come every time
there's an issue.
Especially if you're in management.
Yeah.
So my standard response, first of all, the guy says to me, I'm having a problem with X. Ooh, I'm really not involved in that department at all, so I can't really help you with that, regardless of whether I can or not. That's immaterial. Can't really help you with that. Have you logged a ticket? Oh, no, I haven't. Okay, well, look, the only way you're going to get support here is to log a ticket. And then the second thing I tell all the clients from day one, if you want to make sure that something does not get done, then I'm your man. You tell me, and I'll make sure it doesn't get done. If you actually want it done, log a ticket. Our team will get onto it. We've got an excellent team, and our team will do whatever it is that's necessary to do. And again, that comes back to training the clients, because otherwise you land up swamped with phone calls. So 100%. So systemizing your business. And the other thing that I found with phone calls is the guy says something to me. Now I'm trying to remember it, so I write it down on a piece of paper, and then that piece of paper gets cleaned away by the lady who comes to clean the offices, and I can't find the piece of paper, and I can't remember what the guy said. I can't even remember who it was that phoned me. Then the thing doesn't get done, and he's irritated. Whereas if it's in a ticket, it's tracked.
Right.
And so either you email, in our case, you have channels where they can email billing at, and it raises a ticket, or support at, and it raises a ticket, or compensation plan at, or whatever, and it'll raise a ticket for those departments, and then it's in there, and you can see exactly what's happened. This person said that, we said that, they said that, and you can see the timeline as well. In our system, of course, you've got who responded, what they responded, the time that they responded, and the duration it took them to respond. So you can see all of that stuff out of the blocks. And of course, when they respond, it sends the person an email. You can set out SMSs to say, hey, we've just responded to your ticket, check it out. There's a lot of ways that you can make sure that that process flows.
Yeah. And in the automations, I mean, what happens if when your support team cannot manage the tickets? They can't handle a ticket. I've been trained. However, it's above my pay grade. I can't handle this specific one. What are they?
So generally in most professional ticketing systems, you have tiered approaches.
Okay.
So you'll have people sitting on tier one. So information will come in, my order didn't arrive. That's a tier one issue. So then the person looks in and everything is there. The order's been placed. The payment's been made. As far as we can see, it's left our office, but it's nowhere to be found. Now we've got to escalate that to somebody who's got the power to phone the courier company and speak to the courier company and find out where this product is, and that's in maybe a different authority level. Or if it's a compensation plan, the person can do a basic look at what's going on, but now we've got to do a deep audit. You need to escalate that now to somebody in authority. And so you need to have multiple tiers so that you can escalate your products up the line to get help from people who've got the necessary authority, training, system access, whatever it is to solve those problems. So definitely having some form of tiered mechanism within your support team is critical.
Let's speak about training. I know we're still focusing on the issues surrounding support, but let's look at training. Now, training is long. It's intensive. There are a lot of moving parts. I put a list together here of all the different elements that you can train on: returns, orders, the network structure, finance, my product, the comp plan, the members back office, and I can go on forever.
Yes.
So training becomes very important to get your support people to understand all the moving parts of your business.
Exactly.
That takes a long time. Now, when you scale, you have to account for the time period it takes for you or your people to actually train that support staff member.
Well, that's the thing. And the more you're dependent on that support person to answer the queries, the more training you need to do.
Yeah.
Whereas if you pass a lot of that off and push a lot of that training into the network, to the leadership, that reduces the amount of training you do with a staff member. So if I only have to teach the staff member, let's say 5 disciplines within the system, then I can onboard a new support person quickly.
Yeah.
If I have to teach them 50 things,
Right. Yeah.
then it's a lot longer task. So, for example, in Netready, where we don't have a network, I mean, Netready is a software development company, and we're sending out systems that people need help with. Onboarding a new support person in our space and scaling them up takes months. It can take up to 6 months to get a support person to a point where they are able to answer every single question. And so finding the quality of support person that we have to have here is very, very high. I mean, like extremely high. And we've got amazing people.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the level of training.
One of our support team members is South African. She's in the South African choir.
Yeah, and she's got a gold medal.
Come on.
She was on the international choir Olympics, and
she's epic.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, and
fantastic.
Sometimes she just gives us a nice tune while we're sitting there. It's been a long day, and you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
No, that is. I found that out yesterday. Was actually,
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
I found that out yesterday. It was very,
cool.
very interesting, but super cool.
Yeah.
But again, the quality of people that you have to have in our space very high, and a very, very long learning curve. In the MLM space, you might not have to have that level of person, because what they're looking at, did the product arrive, and has your payment been made, and some basic stuff that they need to actually follow up with. And their main task is to teach them how to say, your upline is Mary Jo, you need to get hold of her, she'll be able to help you.
Yeah, well, it keeps coming back to those 3 areas. It's training your leadership to manage the network and keep supporting them, and to notify the network that if you need support, come to me.
Exactly.
Because we need to work together as a team to grow your business.
Exactly.
And one another's business. In terms of the comp plan, having the policies in place to charge 500 Rand, or what is it, $30 a month?
Well, $30 for a audit.
Sorry, $30 an audit, yeah.
So it's not a lot of money, but it's enough to make a person pause,
Yeah, and then it's the warehouse and the fulfillment. So I think if you can get the training and efficiencies around those 3 focus areas, which is causing a lot of noise within the support ticketing system, you can alleviate a lot of the staff pressure of having this mass of guys. And at 25,000 Rand a month for a staffer, I mean,
well, that's it.
It's a lot.
There's actually one other thing I was just thinking of now, and one of the big things is also around, I didn't receive my commission.
Okay.
That's a big one.
Right, yes.
And where we've tried to solve that in Acorn Kids is that we provided the member with the ability to go into their back office and update their banking details and their, because 9 times out of 10, the vast majority of the time, the person hasn't put their banking details in correctly, or closed their bank account down, or they were using their wife's grandmother's friend's bank account, and suddenly that's not in operation anymore, or whatever.
Which, as the business owner, please don't put your banking details. We want to keep the money.
Who were we with the other day? We were
Tian.
Oh, we were Tian.
Yeah.
And so we were doing some training on the system, and when we got to that part, Tian was saying, so folks, please, I just want to be specific. This is where you put your banking details in, but please, whatever you do, don't put your banking details in.
Don't focus on this area.
Yeah, because if you put your banking details here, we're going to have to pay you a commission, and we really don't want to. And of course, the point he was driving home is, hey guys, if you want to get your money, put your banking details in now. If you've got a situation where the banking details are wrong, what you don't want to do is you don't want to have your support staff taking banking details over the phone. So they go in, they look, sorry, your banking details aren't on the system, or your banking details appear to be wrong, because we get error messages back from trying to pay.
Right.
please would you go in and change or update your banking details.
Yeah.
And so those kind of things,
Yeah.
you know, but...
And then the network member says, well, hold on, but I gave it over the phone, and those were the correct details. So there's no tracking.
Log into your back office, update your...
Yeah.
And if you've got a decent system, there will be a history of whatever changes were happened. All of that gets tracked. Banking details are changed, who changed them, etc. Yeah.
When there's a payment made and the bank then pings you back to say there's been an issue with the bank account details or whatever the issue could be, does the bank then charge you or give you a lower credit rating? How does that actually work?
Well, if the bank details are wrong, there is a charge for that failed transaction, but you've got no control of that. So the bank doesn't give you a hard time about that.
Yeah.
It's much more if you're taking money out of the bank and there's no money, that's when you get a bad rating, because you mustn't do that. So you don't get a bad rating, but there is a cost involved in that. And the other thing is that, of course, it's reputational cost, because the person, if they didn't put their banking details in, it's your fault. It's not their fault. It's your fault. So when you're doing an onboarding, one of the things you need to do is make sure communication goes out. Have you filled in your banking details, part of the training stuff, because we need to pay you commissions. And the second thing is that a little bit before you pay commissions, say you've got commissions to be paid, this is the amount we're paying you, please make sure your banking details are correct, click on this link. Person clicks on the link, they log into the system, they check their banking details, they're correct, off they go. So you can build in mechanisms, again automations, to reduce the load on support by ensuring that the person is aware that they're getting paid commission and they need to check their banking details, make sure they're right. And maybe they've changed their bank and they, oh, good grief, I've changed my bank. Quickly, let me go and sort that out. But if you're not letting them know, and they only find out after the fact that, hey, the money wasn't paid out, and most of these systems are automated. So the system will try to pay it out, isn't able to pay it out, it will bank that money for next month. Now the person sits without his cash for a month. And you can't make exceptions to all of these things, because if now you've got 100 people or 500 people who didn't put their banking, now you've got an army of people trying to support this process. So automate it up front, make it the responsibility of the dealer and their upline, their team leader. If it doesn't work, they get paid next month, but you've told them, listen, we're about to pay you, check it out. If they don't check it out, their problem, they get paid in a month's time. Again, reduces the load on support.
I mean, it keeps coming back to automation and training. Richard, the more we speak, training is imperative to every single aspect. Whether you're training your top leadership, you're training your support people, you're training the network, there's a whole bunch of training that goes on. And I know when we did the episode Focus on Training, we ended off by going, we could have spent 6 hours doing this. What your network does, they don't know what they don't know. So you have to provide them with enough information for them to carry forward their micro business.
Yeah, and look, I read a book a few years ago called The 4-Hour Workweek by a guy called Tim Ferriss. I recommend that book to anybody. Even if you're not wanting to work 4 hours, there are some principles in there that every company should apply. And one of the principles, he says, is you should look at your whatever you're doing, and you should have 3 key goals: automate, outsource, or bullet. So his whole concept is that first and foremost, you must try to automate the process. So you must look at the process and say, okay, we're getting a lot of support queries here. How do I automate this? Okay. The second thing is outsource. We're getting a lot of queries. How can I outsource this? And the best place to outsource it is to the leadership. They're making money. You're paying them to build this team. So you can outsource that to the leadership. And then the last thing is, okay, we need to bullet this because we can't do it. And one of the things, for example, the way that we adopted that bullet for the compensation plan was charging people to do the audit. And eventually that eliminated that query, that bulleted that query from our story. Completely. You know? And nowadays there's also some very slick bot type integrations that you can do where a person says, I didn't get paid commission, and the bot can come back and say, hey, are you sure that your banking details are right? Have you checked them? Please click this link and go and check your banking details. And so that you can actually respond to things in an automation. Now that doesn't mean that you can completely bullet everything, because you can't. But, that would be very nice. Okay, let's just bullet the business.
Yeah.
Don't need a support person at this point. But the issue is that by following that, automate, outsource, bullet, by following that as a principle, a core principle, you can reduce the load radically in your business.
Wow.
And you have to start it from day one. You can't wait until you've got 30,000 members. You can't implement it at that point.
Yeah.
You've got to think through these things the day you start the business. That's got to be part of your psyche. You've got to be part of your processes. It's got to come out the blocks correct.
I think a lot of people listening to this, if it's on the Facebook Live or the recording on all of our channels, is they go, wow, I'm starting a business. I love this industry. I know the power of MLM as a route to markets, but there's so many complexities and nuances within this industry.
It's crazy.
How we speak every week for an hour on every single one of these topics.
Yeah.
So I think the content that we're putting out, hopefully, guys, is exactly what these guys need to lay the foundation, set the structure and the strategies, so that when we get to 30,000 people within your network, that you have those in place and you're able to manage that load. Okay?
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to get into now is how much time do we have here? Okay, we've got 13 minutes. Is activating the support team in such a way that we answer tickets more efficiently, at a faster rate, take on more tickets. How do we do that? Well, we incentivize our people. Yeah. Okay.
Incentivize, recognize.
Incentivize and we recognize.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a bit of
bit of alliteration going there. Hey? Yeah.
Every week we're coming up with some cool ones.
Yeah. So in terms of that, you need to sit down and ask yourself, what is it I want from my support team? So from our support team, what we want is, if we can get it, what we call one-touch support.
Yes.
In other words, when the person logs a ticket, the first goal that we have is to understand fully what the problem is. So what we need to do is read the ticket properly, understand, and if I see how some people write their tickets, it just blows my mind. It's like one steady spewing of notes with no full stops, no paragraphs, no anything, all in capital letters, and so difficult to work with. But the idea is, first and foremost, read and understand what the query is. Because if you skim it, you can miss the essence of what the guy's saying.
Yeah.
So what we do is we train our guys to read the question properly.
Yeah.
And the second thing what you want to try and do is answer it in such a way that that ticket can be closed on the first touch. So what we want to do there, or not what we want to do, what we do there is we incentivize first touch answers. So we give our guys points, and so they get points. If they manage to answer a ticket in one touch, they get more points than if it takes them 2 touches, get more points than if it takes them 3 or 4 touches. So their whole goal is to answer that ticket, get that thing nailed down. Are you happy with this? Excellent. Can I close this ticket? And then close the ticket. So that's the first thing. And then what we do is we put that up onto a board. So a person who's doing a lot of one-touch tickets is going to get more points than a person who's doing 3-touch and 4-touch tickets.
Yeah.
And then there's an incentive. There's a trip to Mauritius or a trip on a ship or whatever at the end of the year. And so these guys can actually win it. But I don't believe in a winner-takes-all type approach.
Yeah, I agree.
So the way that we do it is that you've got different milestones. So you can pack your bag. And then you've got your Uber drive to the airport.
Yeah.
And then you've got your coffee at the business lounge at the airport. And so as you're going on in the year, you're getting different parts of this whole package just by hitting your points. And obviously, you eventually book your ticket. So now you've got your ticket to wherever. Let's say we're going to Mauritius. So you've got your ticket to Mauritius. And then you scale up your points, and then you've got a small bed, or you've got a tent on the beach. And then you move, and you actually get a roof over your head.
Yeah, wow, nice.
And, first of all, it's tent on the beach, and if you want to shove a toilet, it's the shovel.
Okay,
And then you move into, and so as you go along, as the guys go along, there's a competition, but a person can make it. Another person might be flying business class, might be in the executive suites, might be getting 10,000 Rand, spending money, might be doing all of this kind of cool stuff. The other person literally might be strapped to the wing, you know, on the tent on the beach, goes with, but maybe not such a great prize. And so incentivizing the guys to actually, to hit the target so that they can actually win a trip. And then once a year, you know, the guys go off, have an absolute blast. It becomes part of the ethos and the ethic within the business that people are actually going for that. And it keeps, there you can see everybody on the board. This person's doing better than that person. This person's doing one touch like you won't believe. That person's taking 97 attempts to get a ticket answered, etc., etc.
And that comes back to automation. You have to have a tracking tool to be able to calculate the points, track them up the leaderboard. The other thing, I don't believe in a winner takes all either. I don't believe in that concept, because Richard is shooting the lights out. Stu, I look at Richard and go, I'm never going to catch him. I have no chance. But if there is a scaled approach to my experience in this incentive, well then, I could just pack my bags. Or I don't mind being strapped to the wing of a plane because I'm still going.
Or if I get enough points, I could also be flying business class. You know? And the company needs to look at it in terms of the more efficient your support team is, the less money they cost you. Because if you've got very inefficient people, you've got 10 of them. If you could have 3 hyper-efficient people, then the saving is 7 times in this country, 25,000 Rand. So suddenly I'm not going to do that math, but suddenly it's a massive saving that you're making. And to send a couple of people overseas at the end of the year is not a big deal, because you're saving yourself on 7 support people you might have had to have if you weren't incentivizing them. The other thing I like to do is recognition. So as the guys get more points, you recognize them by giving them a rank. Now, it's the same in the multi-level marketing space. You give people ranks to recognize them. So you could call them a star support person, and you could actually put that badge onto their profile.
So that everyone else can see it.
And so when you get answered,
nice.
The network sees that they're being answered by a two-star support person. And you can do that through a number of ways. One, you can have a feedback mechanism where, please let us know how this, you know, how Mary handled your support query. So you can get feedback on that. You can have their one-touch answers. You can have how effective those answers are. There's a number of ways that you can measure how quickly they answer a ticket. The ticket came in at 12, 1 minute past 12, it was answered. More points. 2 star, 3 star, you know.
It's just like an Uber or Lyft rating. It's the same thing. I want to be driven by someone that's got a 5-star rating.
So you could actually build in that kind of recognition as well into your support team, and make sure that the people you have on board are as effective as you can possibly make them. And you don't, I mean, you can't drive them through threats. So you drive them through recognition. You recognize the hell out of them. So that they actually, you know, perform at an optimal level.
Okay. So Richard, the support team is flying back from Hawaii. The plane's coming down, and we're going to have to land this one. Okay.
What's the time?
Do you like that?
Good grief.
I know. It's been 50 minutes talking about support. There's so much that we can get into. Obviously, we're not wanting to scare off potential clients or any business owners wanting to get into the multi-level marketing space. But the understanding of the complexities within the space, that is key to growing a successful multi-level marketing business.
Look, I just need to put this out there. The average business, the average size network marketing company has got 30,000 active members. If they're doing between 1 and 5 orders a month each, you've got between 30,000 and 150,000 orders you're processing every month. If each order is just worth $100, I mean, you've got, you know, between 30 and 150 million dollars worth of orders going. What's it? 300,000 and 1.5 million dollars go in orders going out. Now that is not a small business. That is a serious business. Hell, you need to take your support seriously.
Of course.
You're not running a penny halfpenny business here. MLM is massive business. If you do it right, you ramp these businesses up fast. We've got a client who's now sitting on nearly 90,000 agents, started in January with 2,000 agents.
Yeah.
So we've gone from 2,000 to 90,000 agents in 11 months. That's the kind of growth you can have. So the support part of that, the support, the training, the automate, all of that stuff is not just important, it is critical because you're running a big business. You've got to think in that mindset, is I'm going to be shipping 150,000 orders a month. That has got to be mindset.
Yeah. So when establishing the business and all the structures and the procedures, that needs to be set from the outset, day one. Yeah. That needs to be in place.
And it needs to be your mindset, because if you've got the mindset of I'm going to sign up 5 people and I don't need a support person, well, it will never succeed.
Yeah. You'll sign up those 5 people and you won't need the support person.
Now, if your business succeeds, if your business fails, any support team is good enough.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
Richard, thank you so much for your time.
It's an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Appreciate it.
It was a good one.
Week on week. Loved it. Guys, thank you so much for dedicating your time to us. From myself, Stuart Calder, VP for Sales and Marketing here at Netready, and our CEO of Netready, Richard Sletcher. Thank you so much for your time. Please follow us on all of our channels. We've got our Facebook page. We've got our no, we don't have an Instagram page. We have a LinkedIn page. We've also got our Spotify channel, so listen to all of our podcasts when you're sitting in the traffic. And also please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the bell so you can ping for the notifications, and we cannot wait to see you next week. If you have any questions, pop it onto this thread, or you can just direct message us. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the week.